So I do a lot of work out here in my shop, and just recently the LEDs, these LED lights, started flickering in this very annoying way. That one that is off started flickering, I think, last summer, several months ago. These started flickering just recently. This one failed in sort of a progressive mode. You can see that blue painter's tape is up there because at first only a handful of the LEDs were flashing. And if I muted them with that blue painter's tape, it wasn't too bad to work with. But right now, this is like something out of a horror movie. And I can't deal with this, right? It kind of annoys you on some really fundamental, like subconscious level if you just let this kind of flashing light go on in the background. But anyway, my plan here is not to replace these. It's to replace the power supplies with a unified DC power supply. So I'm going to have one DC power supply for all these things. And if that works, I'm going to go ahead and build up more LED lights using cheap methods, let's put it that way, to basically get the rest of the shop super duper bright. It's really great to have incredible lighting in a place, right? When all these lights were going full blast, the lighting in here was spectacular. It's still pretty good and your eyes adjust, but it's kind of dim here and there. And oftentimes that can interfere with your work. So I'm going to pull these down and I'll capture the process of converting these to DC on film and show you the end result. All right, so I've been messing around with this for a while now, trying to figure out what's going on. So the symptom of failure that these LED light fixtures had, and these are these commercial electric things. I think they were from Home Depot, made in China. Their symptom was they were flickering. And my assumption was it was caused by the power supply. So I replaced the power supply that came with the fixture with this adjustable one. So I want to use this in the shop, power all the shop lights with that. But what I discovered is when I hooked it up, some of the lights, some of the LEDs did illuminate properly. Others were really dim, and some were burned out altogether. And then depending on what voltage you set, you would get kind of a flickering behavior. And then if you massively overdrive them, they burn out. Right? And now they're all currently burned out. So that's pretty interesting. So this fixture is pretty close to trash. I mean, I could reuse it. I can put some new LED strips in here. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I think I'll probably go with my gutter LED plan. I do have some LED strips in my shop. And I'll bring those over here and see how they do. I've used them before in other projects. They're easy to use. But I think it would be great just to have a big long gutter thing. These are, I guess, about 3 feet long. And it would be better to have a 4 foot long fixture. So maybe I'll look into that and see what's what. But yeah, so these are probably damaged. The ones in the shop are probably damaged too. It would help a little bit to have the central power supply, but the strips themselves are already fried. So we'll adjust and move forward. So I'm making a quick and dirty housing for my power supply for the LED shop lighting, the DC power supply. And, I just cut up some scrap plywood from an old project. And I'm going to glue it together with polyurethane glue, basically the construction adhesive, because it's too cold out here for normal wood glue to set up, and also use some staples on it. So this is a pretty good, quick and dirty way to make a box. You just kind of wrap it in, basically a locator for these plywood pieces, glue it, use some staples, and then you cut the top of the box off and you're basically done. Slap some hinges on there, put a latch on there, and it actually looks pretty good and professional once it's all done. So anyway, yeah, I'll show you the finished product. Nothing too fancy putting it together here. So here's the quick and dirty box, basically done. So I've got to drill some holes, a vent hole up here, and I'll use a kind of a cover thing that I've got that will keep the dust out while still allowing air to circulate. And then a couple holes for power, a couple down here probably for power, one for AC coming in and one for DC going out. So I'll just use probably 1-inch Forstner bit, I guess is what it's called, to make the holes. Doesn't need to be too spectacular or too fancy or anything. I guess I could do a 3/8 inch like strain relief fitting in there, one of the electrical relief fittings. So yeah, I'll try that. And we'll move on from there. So here's the finished product. I've got the old wraparound lights up there with the new LED light strips installed and a central DC power supply that's inside this box. The box is mainly to protect it from dust. The shop gets extremely dusty with both metal dust and sawdust from woodworking projects. So I guess I'll wrap it up here. I guess the conclusion is yet to be determined. You know, if this was worth it or not is a good question. I think it's totally viable, right, to go with the centralized power supply. It works just fine. It's easy enough. You know, if I hadn't already had all the AC wiring up there, then this would make more sense probably than, you know, spending the time and effort to put up yet another set of DC power going to these lights. You know, so that's kind of a waste of time. The thing that is yet to be determined is, will this solution last longer than the wraparound lights, right? So that's what kicked this all off, was these lights died. I think the power supply started putting out too high of a voltage and it fried the LED strips that were in there. You know, they were fine for a couple of years, but then started flickering and not working very well. But anyway, yeah, time will tell. I don't really know now. Maybe I'll do an update video in a couple years if these things last that long. But I'm going to leave it here for now. Have a good day.